Hi there, I'm Rebecca, and the intro to this video might seem a tad scripted, so just bear with me. I also apologize if you can hear my heating vent in the background. I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm making this video because summer is indeed coming to an end, and I am currently going to be a sophomore in college this semester, so I feel like some of you could benefit from my mistakes and my experiences and some of the tips that I have to share. And it's up to you as to whether or not you're going to make the most out of your college experience. You'll find that some things are free, some things are not, but for the most part it's a pretty good time. So whether or not you're starting college this fall, you might be transferring or returning to school, or you're watching this video just because, I hope that you can benefit from watching at least some part of it. So the first section of this video is going to focus on roommates and potential living conditions. Most people entering college will have to live with at least one roommate, so I think it would be beneficial to plan out your living conditions beforehand. A lot of schools have online layouts of what your room's going to look like, so it would benefit you to look at that beforehand. I had 3 roommates this past year. We found out we were actually going to have 2 rooms. We had a bedroom, and then we had a bathroom, and then we had like kind of a desk room, or like a living room I guess you could call it. And one of our roommates had actually toured a similar room, so she was able to tell us like each of us would get our own wardrobe and a drawer and a desk. So that really helped us out. It also helps if you need to know how many chairs to bring, if you're going to have room for a couch. A lot of schools will provide you with chairs and other seating, and some of them you might have to keep in the room. You can't physically move it out of the room. I would also encourage you to talk to your roommates beforehand if possible. Social media can be a really great thing. We started a group chat, and I think it would be beneficial if you guys met up beforehand, but it's not necessary. And what I started to do right away is find common interests with each of my roommates. Like one of my roommates was in marching band, and I was like, yes, I'm going to have so much to talk about. And I would also suggest adding them on social media so you can start putting faces to names and kind of find out what kind of person they are. And this isn't necessary, but I think most people would like to know as much as they can about the person they're going to be living with for a year. And I think this might be common knowledge for some people, but I would definitely suggest setting up rules and guidelines ahead of time. I know most universities are going to have roommate agreements and stuff like that, but it can definitely help if you guys talk it out before you even set up the agreement. And whether or not you only have one room, I think it's important to plan out when you're going to sleep, if you can have the light on past a certain time. Also ask about guests, especially if they're late night guests or overnight. And if you're uncomfortable with any kind of situation, I would encourage you to voice your opinion or talk to your RA about it. One thing we talked about was the use of personal property and who would be responsible if something were to break. One of my roommates brought a TV, and we talked about who was allowed to use it, when you were allowed to use it, if you had to ask first. That's another big thing. Some people are only comfortable using other people's products if they were in the room, but just be respectful if you're having phone calls or if you have the lights on late at night or you're watching Netflix. Definitely use headphones if it's late at night. Just be respectful of each other. You don't have to be best friends with the people you're living with, but it would help to just be a decent person. Our room actually got along really well, but we were one of the only rooms on the floor who all of us meshed together really well. So my aunt actually suggested this tip to me, and I followed through, and it actually worked really well. I found out if you guys explore campus together as roommates, you get to know each other and you get to know the school at the same time. And since it's all new to you, it's beneficial to have other people that are in the same boat as you. You can find places to eat and study, and you can experience campus together, and it's really nice. So for the first couple days of school, all of us were watching Netflix on like our own personal computers facing away from each other, and then we actually found out that some of us were watching the same thing. 3 of us actually watched Parks and Rec, and so we ended up watching that together. Another thing that I think would be important to do is to designate shelves and drawers and closets. Each of us had our own wardrobe, and then we had 4 drawers up and down, so we made sure to designate, okay, who gets what drawer. And in the living area, we had a bookshelf for food and stuff, and we also decided whether or not to share our food with others. Also discuss the temperature of your room. I think that was a really big thing this year. And always remember, it's easier to be too cold than too hot, and it's helpful just to compromise. And just keep in mind that what you said at the beginning of the semester may change, and you can talk to your roommates and discuss if you guys need to change your agreement or if you're feeling different about a certain situation. My biggest tip is to just voice your opinion, and we had some problems with that this year because everyone in my room was pretty passive aggressive, but it ended up working out pretty well. So make sure to limit what you're bringing, whether it be clothes or food or anything like that. All four of us ended up bringing a printer, and we tried to find space, and we were like, there's no way. So we ended up keeping 2 printers, and they were on each sides of the room, and we kind of just used whichever one. But make sure if you're doing like 2 people to a printer, you're splitting the cost of ink and paper and stuff like that. But just make sure you're keeping organized and you're washing your clothes and taking showers and stuff like that. Just be respectful. So command hooks and duct tape are great ways to organize your room and decorate. We ended up hanging Christmas lights all the way around the living space with duct tape, and it's important to have an area that's kind of your own, so we each had a desk, and the area above the desk on the wall we made sure to personalize, and that kind of gave you a space to say like, here's my spot, here's who I am, stuff like that. Also, make sure to plan out what you're going to keep in the bathroom and what you're going to keep in your own area. Our bathroom had shelves, but it wasn't huge, so we ended up keeping stuff like shampoo and face wash in the actual bathroom, but we each had a shower caddy that had like our toothbrush, our soap, retainers, stuff like that. That goes along with my next tip about the bathroom. I thought this was common knowledge to some people because I've always done it at home. But if you only have one restroom, I would suggest asking around, like, does anybody need the bathroom before I take a shower? That wasn't really an issue in our room, but in some rooms people would be in the bathroom for like an hour. And I mean, it wasn't a big deal. If you needed the bathroom, you could just use somebody else's. But I think it's always a polite thing to do. So the next section is going to focus on social tips. I am very antisocial and very introverted, but I actually ended up doing a program where you could move in early and then you could help other people move in. And I will be honest with you, just say hi to people. It took me a really long time to just get used to that, but honestly, that's how I made the majority of my friends. Whether or not people voice their fears about college, I'm pretty sure most of you are going to be nervous. And so what ends up happening is the majority of people are nervous, but no one's going to talk about it. And so everybody's just going to continue to be nervous. But I'm really encouraging you just to say hi to people and break the ice. And this kind of ties in the previous section, but if you guys are cool with it, I would suggest leaving your dorm room door open when you guys are all in there, of course, because that encourages people that are walking by to pop their head in and say hi, and that's how we made a lot of our friends too. And keeping your door open also invites people to pop their head in and see if you want to take a break, or if you want to go do something, and I think that's really important to keep like a healthy mindset. If your door's closed, that generally means that you're doing something and don't want to be interrupted, and so people usually won't knock on your door. And just know that it is okay to go to dining halls or do things by yourself or eat by yourself. You don't always have to be with somebody. There are plenty of times where I would just eat dinner by myself and I was totally cool with it because I needed space away from everybody else. A lot of people feel like you always have to be with your friends or always doing something, and I don't really think that's the case for every single individual. I go to a university where the student body is huge, and what really helped me was I narrowed down the amount of people by joining different groups and organizations. I'm in the scholars program at school, and that really helped narrow down the campus population significantly. And then I was in athletic band, so I met people that had common interests, but it was also a smaller group. I was in kind of a small church group. So it helps to find people with similar interests that you're able to communicate with, and I think that will help if you are nervous about going to a school with a lot of people. And I also think joining a group would be beneficial because it's a resume builder. It also makes the time go by a lot faster, and it keeps you focused on other things besides schoolwork. The next tip kind of goes along with that because I'm going to tell you that play comes after work. And this is kind of like the psychology lover in me coming out, but I will honestly say, if you tell yourself, I will watch an episode of Netflix after I write this essay, you're going to get the essay done. Because if you say, okay, I'll watch an episode or two of Netflix now if I write my essay later and I'll write it right after, that's not going to help you. If the reward comes after the action, that will reinforce the action. So I would definitely suggest planning out your schedule and rewarding yourself after you've completed your work. That also helps with procrastination, and I am a really big procrastinator. But if you get things done ahead of time, then you can spend as much time as you want, and you don't have to feel guilty about watching Netflix or anything. I had an online class this past semester, and everything was due Thursday night. So I made sure to have everything done for the week by Wednesday. So that way if I ended up needing more time, or if something wouldn't submit, I would be able to email the instructor ahead of time. Some instructors are good about that, but some really won't care if your work is late because you had a computer problem. So I would suggest uploading stuff at least 12 hours before the due date. I would definitely suggest trying new things with the people that you're meeting at school. We all tried rock climbing together for the first time, and that was really cool, and now it's kind of a regular thing. A group of us wanted to try out the church across the street, and now we go every Sunday, and it's really awesome. And we also tried extracurricular activities that weren't our thing, but that just helped narrow down what we like to do together. Another big social tip is to keep in contact with your high school friends and family. I know some people you're going to be happy to get rid of from high school, but it helps to be able to come home if you're out of state or out of the city. You can come home and still hang out with people, and those people are still going to be important to you. And it's also important to keep in contact with your family. And you don't always have to call them. I hate talking on the phone, so I would just text my mom and my brother. I would call my grandma because that made her really happy. And even if someone's not contacting you, they might still be missing you, so it's always helpful to kind of keep them up to date with what's going on. I made sure to email my parents and my grandma and Patrick and my brother my school schedule, because sometimes my grandma would call me when I was in a night class, so it helped keep them up to date. Like, here are the times when I'm not busy, so I'm available to talk. Skype's also a really great thing, and unless you're paying for college by yourself, I would encourage you to keep your parents up to date with how your grades are going. I think that's just a nice thing to do. The last section is going to be about general safety tips, and at the beginning of the year, your RA or hall director or whatever is probably going to have a meeting telling you things to do and not to do. But always lock your door before sleeping. Again, I thought this was a common knowledge thing, but I guess some people weren't used to locking their door before they were sleeping. University dorms are very public, and I think it would just be beneficial if you locked your door while you were sleeping. Also, if you're allowed to have candles in your dorm, do not leave them burning while you're sleeping. And over the winter, we weren't allowed to have our windows open because it would cause the pipes to burst. And usually they'll tell you about stuff like that, but it's just something to be aware of. And I would suggest monitor what you're eating. The freshman 15 is very real for some people, and I think it would just be beneficial to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And I am definitely not the healthiest eater, like, at all. But I've seen people from high school, and they go from, eating school lunches to eating ice cream every meal because it's available. And even if eating healthy is not your thing, it's just important to be aware of what you're consuming. Please don't feel obligated to drink in school, but if you do, be responsible. And most people are totally fine with that fact. And they might invite you to go to a party or a bar or something, and it's totally cool to turn that down. And it's also totally fine to go with them, and you don't have to drink. But a lot of people enter college thinking that that's going to be the social norm, and it's really not. Depending on the kind of people you surround yourself with, most people are going to be totally fine with you not doing that. And if you're still in high school, I can almost guarantee you that you're not going to be wearing your Letterman jacket. I was in marching band for 6 years, and we had jackets, and then one Black Friday, my mom was like, "Hey Rebecca, there's this designer coat that you really like, and it's only $10, you should get it." And then I'm like, I'm going to be wearing my marching band jacket to college. And I went through the entirety of junior/senior year thinking I was going to wear this to school. And I promise you, if that's your mindset now, it will change when you go to school. And that's just a personal opinion, but a lot of people told me not to do that, and I didn't believe them, and now here I am, and I bought a new winter jacket. And also, if it's cold, I would suggest buying boots, because I saw a lot of people walking through the Ohio snow in sneakers. We had a Facebook page just for freshmen, and some people from Florida or Texas would post, be like, "Hey, what's the weather like in Ohio? What should I bring for the winter?" And also make sure to take advantage of all the resources that are now available to you now that you're a student. It can be stuff like counseling, tutoring, getting discounts at different places. And please, if you ever don't feel safe in any kind of situation, make sure you're talking to somebody. It doesn't benefit anyone if you're uncomfortable. And most of the people at school are going to be there to help you. It doesn't even have to be a counselor or an RA or anything like that. I actually asked my scholars coordinator for advice. A bunch of us on the same floor collaborated to solve problems. But again, that ties back to who you're surrounding yourself with. And just make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are going to benefit you and you benefit them as well. So I think that's all I have for you guys, and if you think of any other questions or I didn't answer something, you can ask me and I can do a Q&A video, or I can respond to your comments down below. And good luck if you're going to school this year, especially if you're starting for the first time. It's a really exciting experience and I hope you make the most of it. So make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, and follow me on social media. I'll put that stuff in the description box, and let me know what else you would like to see. Thanks for watching. Bye.